Hey, everybody, it is Maria Boynton. Thank you so much for joining me for yet another edition of Atlanta Up Close. Got to tell you today, we have a packed house in here today for Atlanta Up Close. A bunch of law officials are here today representing City of South Fulton, Fulton County Sheriff's Office, City of Atlanta. How is everyone doing today?
Doing great. Have a good morning.
Y'all hear it, right, everybody? Thanks for joining us for Atlanta Up Close. I have with me today a friend of Odyssey Atlanta, none other than Audrey Jackson. Audrey, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful today. How are you?
I am doing fine. You know, every year we get with you about this time, whether we're doing a Zoom, whether we're doing a phone interview, whether you're in studio. We're talking about the September 11th first responders above the call of duty honorees. And this year, 2023, it's that time again. Tell us what it's all about.
So much has been happening. This is my 22nd year of doing this program. I lost my partner. I call him partner in crime, but the officers say don't say that.
Yeah.
But Simon Baby, Alexander was my partner, and God called him home on March 1st of last year. And so we're doing what we're doing in memory of him and what he contributed to this. This year was so special because we had wanted for years to pass a law in the state of Georgia recognizing September 11th as First Responders Appreciation Day. And on April 27th, the governor signed into law that law for the state of Georgia.
Wow.
So all 159 counties this year on September 11th will be able to recognize first responders throughout the state.
That day must have been surreal for you.
It was unreal to me for many reasons. My mother has already been called home, and it was House Bill 373, and that was her house number. So I felt like she was speaking to me from heaven because they assigned that bill randomly to her house number, House Bill 373. Wow. A week after that bill was signed in, we had an active shooter in Midtown. And that's why we do this, because everybody had to rush to this area of the city to try to be able to put us in safety. We didn't know where this guy was, what he was going to do. And so this is why this program is so important. We take for granted when we call 911 that somebody's going to be there, somebody will answer that call. And when they're not, guess what? This is why I do this. I want to show appreciation. We memorialize on that date, but I want to appreciate and show gratitude for everybody that saves us when we answer when they answer that call when we dial 911.
Everyone, it is in remembrance of those who gave their lives 9/11/2001. Audrey Jackson, the program founder here. It is the 2023 September 11th First Responders Above the Call of Duty honorees happening right here in Atlanta, Georgia. A program, an array of honors that are going in. We have everyone here today, right? Everyone's here.
Yes, we do.
Oh, and I want to say thank you so much for everyone, for the various departments, the managers, the bosses who allowed these wonderful law enforcement officials to be in on this program today with Audrey. We're going to take up first the City of South Fulton. So we're honoring there. What happened, Audrey?
Well, let me say this first. We never had this award before. This is the first time, the first annual Beyond the Call of Duty Awards.
Okay.
And so when we reached out to each jurisdiction that we honor, we asked them to give us names. And it only took a second for that to be responded to. It was a phenomenal response. We're starting first with Officer Kevin Turner in the city of South Fulton. A car, I think, jumped over and some kind of hit the curb and then ended up hitting a tree, and the car burst into flames. And Officer Turner was the person who calmly got that individual out of that car and saved his life.
Officer Turner, thank you so much. Tell us what happened.
On June 17th, I received a 911 dispatch to a vehicle that had overturned into a ditch and had caught fire. So I was approximately 3 minutes away from that call. When I got there, I did find a driver that was stuck inside the vehicle as it was on fire. And I was able to successfully pull him from the vehicle and get him to EMS.
So you say you were successfully able to get him to EMS. I mean, when you get these kinds of calls, I mean, does your heart go thump or does it go thump? How's the beating pattern there?
Definitely pitter-patter, got the adrenaline up, but your instinct kind of just kicks in and you kind of go into autopilot. And it's not until the situation is over when you realize exactly how serious it was.
So you got on the scene. What happened?
I arrived on the scene. I found a Cadillac vehicle that had careened off into a ditch. I was able to get the driver, who was just now regaining consciousness, out of the vehicle. and was able to drag him up to the curb where EMS and fire could find him because he was. It was hard to see him in the middle of the night down in a ditch with no lights.
Oh, wow, everybody. We're talking with first responders above the call of duty honorees. City of South Fulton Officer Kevin Turner. Happened June 2023. Officer Turner answering the call that a car had careened off the road, jumped the curb. He saved a man trapped inside a burning vehicle near Fulton Industrial Boulevard. The driver suffered what?
He had multiple injuries. We actually just reunited about 2 days ago and at the Southwest Art Center in the city of South Fulton. And he stated that he had 2 broken bones in his legs. He had a broken hip. He had a broken ankle and a broken wrist.
Oh, wow. To be able to reconnect, though, how was that for you?
It was great. A lot of times when you respond to emergency calls, once the situation is over, as law enforcement, we go on to the next call, and you don't often get times to reconnect with that person or figure out whatever happened. So we were able to reunite, and he's actually alive and well and up, standing, walking, and back to work.
Sergeant Kevin Turner here, everybody, with the City of South Fulton, to know that you're being recognized for the work, which, often does not happen. I mean, what does that do for you?
Law enforcement can sometimes be a thankless job. So, you get used to it. I got into law enforcement to protect and serve and help, not necessarily for the accolades or the pat on the back. But when you do get recognized for something that you've done, it definitely goes a long way and it'll stick with you.
Officer Kevin Turner, thank you so very much, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Certainly. So everyone, up next, I got to tell you, I watched the movie, The Negotiator, and I learned a lot from just watching a movie. But today, we have a real negotiator here with the Fulton County Sheriff's Department, Nicholas Reynolds. Officer, how are you?
Doing all right. How about yourself?
I'm great. So being the job of a negotiator, as I mentioned, I saw the movie. Tell me from your purview, what exactly do you do?
Well, from my standpoint, what I do, I'm kind of like the last hope. That's what I feel. I come in when everybody else is not able to get the job done. I'm going to say they won't get the job done, but they need that extra help. So that's what I'm there for. I'm there to talk. That's my whole job.
So everyone, this is Nicholas Reynolds, negotiator with the Fulton County Sheriff's Department. Audrey Jackson, come back on in. Tell us exactly what Negotiator Reynolds did.
Well, this story is just phenomenal. I've never heard of anything like this, and I'm from Atlanta. But some kind of way, a lady was able to maneuver herself to the top of the Justice Building downtown on Central Avenue. She stripped all of her clothes off and decided that was a place for her to commit suicide. So this was a mental health crisis where he was called in. And what's phenomenal with this story is that she was not comfortable unless the person, I'll let him tell the story, but she wanted them to take their clothes off too with her. She could only speak Portuguese. I think she was Brazilian. So it just had a lot of different pieces to this. So he was just the perfect person at the right time for a crisis.
Yeah, this is quite interesting. June 2022, Negotiator Reynolds. Come on now. You've got a woman with no clothes on, and she wants you to take your clothes off to tell us from the moment you got the call how interesting you felt this might be.
Initially, I got the call. I was actually going home.
Okay.
Just about to get off. I got the call, came across the radio. Hey, we need all the units to report to the courthouse. At that time, that was right around the time the riots and protests and everything was going on. So my first thought was, oh, man, here we go again. We got to deal with the protesters. I received a call from my sergeant. He's like, it's not the protesters this time. We got a lady that really want to jump off the courthouse. So, of course, my natural reaction was, you playing. Like, nobody on top of the courthouse. Nobody's going to do that. But sure enough, I got there. She was on top of the courthouse. I got up there. Once I get on scene, it's essentially my scene at that point. So walked across the roof, started talking to him. When she first looked at me, she was like, oh, get off the roof. I don't want to talk to a man. So I talked to her, let her know I'm the only one that can give you what you want. So either you talk to me or you're not getting anything. But she eventually got calm. She was like, okay, well, I'm going to talk to you. After talking to her for a little while, trying to figure out exactly what she got on, what she had going on, she asked me, take off my shirt. I was like, okay, why not? At that point, she isn't any danger to me, so I took off my shirt. Then she was like, can I have your vest? Okay. I gave her my vest. Then she's like, okay, take off your other shirt. Then I started getting nervous. I was like, okay, I can't go no further than this because it's going to be a bad picture. After she, we was up there about an hour. Told me to pray with her. She was pointing at the top of the Capitol building with the statue that's on top of the Capitol building. Mm-hmm. So I guess she had issues with the country itself. After a while, she sat there. She tried to put my vest on. And when she tried to put my vest on, that's when I grabbed her. And the other deputies helped me grab off the building.
So you were able to save this woman's life by actually, there was a sense of understanding and with her?
Yes. Being that she spoke Portuguese, we had to ask for an interpreter. But for the most part, she spoke a little English, and I was able to convey to her what I wanted her to do. And she was able to tell me what she wanted me to do. So it kind of helped out a little bit.
How often do you have to take off your clothes in this job?
Never. So that's not something that's, written in a book anywhere. That's just something that I was comfortable with. I'll always do something that I'm comfortable with. If I wasn't comfortable with it, it wouldn't happen.
And when you get these types of calls, I mean, you're a negotiator. How did you decide to go into this particular area of law enforcement?
Two things.
Okay.
One, Sam. I love Sam. So Sam negotiated. That got me into it. And then I like to talk. So it goes hand in hand.
Oh, wow. And we saw Sam in that movie, having to put himself in conjunction with that person in terms of thinking what they're feeling at that particular moment. So when you know that you were there with the lady, I mean, having to have an interpreter there, how easy was it for you to come onto one with her?
It was hard because you also have to think, okay, I have to save this woman, but I also have to look out for the well-being of everybody else that's up there as well. So you never really know what that person's going to do. So you got to try to, balance the two, make everything good.
Everyone, we're talking to Fulton County Sheriff's Department negotiator Nicholas Reynolds. He's here after he saved a woman who was attempting to commit suicide. She was having a mental health crisis, threatening to jump off the roof at the Fulton County Courthouse. He had to go and take off his clothes, or you didn't get fully nude, right?
Nah, not fully nude. Nah, close enough, but I ain't go all the way.
Okay, so everyone, he and the team springing into action, rescuing the woman. She only spoke Portuguese, but they were able to get it done. For people who might want to be a negotiator, I got to ask you, for those out there who say, I want to be the next Officer Nicholas Reynolds top negotiator, what do you say to them?
You have to be able to look besides yourself. This job, being a negotiator, you can't really think of yourself, shall I say. You got to be willing to actually go that extra mile to help that person you're trying to save at that point. And you got to be able to talk.
All righty. Officer Reynolds, thank you so much for what you do for the community.
Thank you and appreciate it.
We've got so many guys here today. Audrey Jackson is here. This is doing my heart so wonderful to be able to present all these law officials here today and the great works that they've done. They're being honored 2023 September 11th, first responders above the call of duty honorees. And Audrey, as the next group comes, September 11th, you knew that something had to happen, right? When it all went down in New York and in Pennsylvania, right?
Yes, and I think what touched me the most was I saw first responders rushed to buildings to save people, and then they died with the people they went to save. That just stunned me. And what pushed me into action was when I saw video later of people in other countries, not in our country, but in other countries celebrating those deaths. That said to me, we need to learn how to appreciate what we have here in our world every day. And that's what pushed me to action. I started real small. I had little baskets of food that I took to stations in my neighborhood first. And it was real mild-mannered, and then it grew now into spreads of food and recognitions and honors. And so now we have the first ever Beyond the Call of Duty Award for officers like the ones you've heard today who've gone above and beyond what's normally asked of them every day.
And we have a larger group here, everybody. City of Atlanta, we have Officers Darren Tabor, Officer Terry Peter, Officer Keyshawn Cannon, Officer Charles Smith, who are here with us today as well. You've gotten a lot of support from the City of Atlanta. You've got a program coming up, too.
That one on Monday, September 11th, is the City of Atlanta program. And unlike the other programs we've had prior, which was South Fulton, City of South Fulton, and Fulton County Law Office, Sheriff's Department, the City of Atlanta, we actually go to each location and have a ceremony at each location. So with the city, we actually physically go to them, pray for them. My mother brought that in, a prayer of them, and we do a prayer of safety for them. We feed them, and then this year we will be honoring them for outstanding duties beyond the call of what they are normally doing every day.
Okay, so without further ado, everybody, we're going to bring in the City of Atlanta crew here so we can find out the great things that they have done in terms of interceding when someone in the community needed it most. So starting us out, everybody, someone who helps me get my job done when it comes to items with the City of Atlanta, and I want to thank you for being such a professional. Always, Officer Jarius Doherty. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. So you're in here today. You brought some of your officers in here today. How elated are you right about now?
I'm very excited these guys are getting recognized for some of the work that they've done. It's very impressive to me to see our community reaching out to us to let us know, like, you did a really great job here, and we should definitely recognize you for this.
How is it to work with these guys?
Every day I come to work, it's exciting just being able to work with some of the most talented officers in the country. Us in Atlanta PD, we're really good about our training. We're really good about some of the guys that we hire on. So the officers that we have here are going to be able to come to whatever incident that they may be faced with and respond to it appropriately.
So, everyone, we're talking to Officer Jarius Doherty with the City of Atlanta Police Department. I mean, what we're talking about here is the 22nd anniversary annual appreciation presentation in appreciation of first responders serving Metro Atlanta. Officer Doherty talking about how great it is to work with these gentlemen we have with us today. And, of course, we're going to start off with Darian Tabor. You know, we know that something happened January of this year, and you were there. You and the other officers that we're going to talk to. What happened?
So on that day in question, my 8-hour shift had actually finished, and I was actually working at a nightclub. And a call came over the radio, and they advised everybody to be on the lookout for a patrol car that had been stolen. So, of course, what?
A patrol car?
A patrol car had been stolen. So I'm thinking somebody done lost their mind. So obviously I knew we had to help them find it. And dispatch continued to give updates, and they said that the vehicle was actually headed in my location. And I'm like, my 8 hours is done, but we can't have a patrol car out here in the hands of somebody that's not supposed to have it. Okay. So I headed to the location, saw the vehicle, and another officer from the actual area where the vehicle was taken from. He had also arrived at the same time as myself. He got behind the vehicle fled. I pursued the vehicle. It didn't go too far, but it ended up coming up on an area where there's a train tracks, and the train tracks were actually down. And so that particular intersection is either a left or a right. But like I said, the train tracks are down, so it's only a left turn. And as the vehicle's getting closer, I'm kind of backing up. I'm like, I hope they know they got to make a left turn. And they're just getting closer, and I'm like, I hope they know they got to make a left turn. They got to that left turn. They did not make the left turn. They kept going straight. The vehicle actually went off of the road, went up into the air, and then landed on its side. So I pulled up behind the vehicle, exited. All the officers got up with me. Somebody started yelling, "Train!" And I look up, and I literally see a train coming, and the vehicle is partially on the tracks. And I alerted Officer Cannon, who was, I think he was on my left, to break the window. Officer Cannon broke the window, and multiple officers pulled that gentleman out to safety.
Oh, wow. So first and foremost, I mean, they stole a patrol car. So this person, they're taking a lot of chances, right? A lot of chances. And obviously with the vehicle not being stolen from my area, I have no idea what is in that vehicle. Because I know if it was my own vehicle, there's at least 2 rifles in there. There's all kind of weapons in there. So obviously, if a patrol car is stolen, number one priority, we have to get that vehicle back. And to know that everything went okay.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Absolutely phenomenal. Now, along with Officer Darian Tabor, there were 3 others. And Officer Keyshawn Cannon, has anyone ever said you're the baby of the bunch?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. On most of my watches I've been on, I've always been the youngest officer.
And to know that on this particular day, had you ever had a situation such as this?
Never in my 2 years of working have I seen a patrol vehicle being stolen out of the city.
You said, here we go now.
Right. So, in that incident, I'm on a call already for a domestic dispute with a man beating a woman. Dispatch comes over the radio saying Zone 4 had a vehicle stolen while I was on a traffic stop, headed westbound on 166. I'm like, well, maybe it'll just go off in Zone 4 somewhere, and we won't have to get involved. Ends up coming towards us, gets off on Lakewood, which is in Zone 3, I'm like, well, they're getting kind of close. They start going north on Lakewood. Keep in mind, we're on Lakewood and Rhodesia, which is probably a couple miles up. Starts coming up. They're getting closer. They're at Lakewood and Jonesboro. We're like, well, they're getting really close. So I get in my car, start going back the opposite direction towards where they're coming, and vehicle flies by probably 60 miles per hour.
Wow.
End up turning around, getting behind it. It was 2 units in front of me at that time. End up going through that same intersection again at Lakewood and Jonesboro. They go up Jonesboro to McDonough and Hank Aaron. That's going to be where the train tracks cross over there. And I'm thinking, well, they got to either turn right, turn left. So as I'm looking at them, they look like they're appearing to turn right. I get on radio saying they're going to go north on Hank Aaron. And as I'm saying that, they jump the curb, strike a cinder block. Vehicle turns on its side, laying on top of the train tracks. That's when me and my partner, Officer Green, got the vehicle. We all run to the vehicle. At this time, we have probably 30 officers out there. We all run to the car. We see the vehicles on its side. Airbags deployed multiple directions. So Officer Tabor was there. He gives the idea to break the window with the aspartame. He asked for aspartame. I'm like, well, I already have one, so let me go ahead and just break it. So I do end up breaking it. We ended up pulling him out onto the tracks. And that's when I see Officer Peter, who's also with us as well. He's starting to put handcuffs on the guy. I look up. I see train lights coming down the train tracks. And I start yelling, hey, train. You know, it goes from us trying to apprehend a suspect to saving everybody's life out here. Vehicles, it's a lost cause. So we're not really worried about that.
Officer Cannon, I got to tell you, this story is amazing to me. It's exciting. I know everyone listening is saying, okay, Maria, be quiet. What happened next?
So we get him out of the vehicle. Officer Peters, he's putting him in handcuffs on the train tracks. I look up. I see the train coming down the tracks. See the lights, hear the horn. I'm yelling to Peter, hey, train's coming. Let's get off the tracks. At that point, it's only Peter and our suspect on the train tracks. So I'm like, hey, let's go ahead and move. So we ended up moving Peter and our suspect off the train tracks. Mm-hmm. At that time, train comes through, hits the patrol vehicle. We do end up getting our suspect in custody, and he was taken to Grady as far as his injuries and stuff like that.
Thank you so much, Officer Keyshawn Cannon. So let's get to Officer Terry Peter. Okay, so you get on the scene. What's next?
So after a long day of we was getting ready for a protest, I'm on my way home.
Yeah.
I made a few stops though because we got off like at 11. This happened like about 1
in the morning.
Right. So I made a few stops on the way home. Always keep my radio on until I get to my door and get inside. And then I heard a vehicle got stolen in Zone 4. Most of the guys here that are interviewing work in Zone 3, which is what we call home. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I'm listening to the transmission and I'm like, vehicles traveling on 166 going to Zone 3. I'm like, oh, he's coming towards us. He's coming to our house. I'm like, okay. So I'm just listening. He made a stop at 100 Lakewood Way, which is 7's beat. Zone 3 spread out into 13 beats, which is, you know, design areas for each person. Awesome. So I covered 305. I call that my bedroom out of the home. Mm-hmm. So he's coming, but he's coming to 305. I'm like, I got to get over there. I know this area very well. So I'm trying to cut the back streets to get to him before he, gets further. And I heard radio said GSP was en route, Georgia State Patrol.
Right.
Probably less than a quarter mile from where he crashed. I had passed that location to cut on a back street, and I saw like about 6 GSP officers pass by me. Then I'm listening to the transmission. I'm like, oops, I got to turn around. He already passed me, so turned around, followed them. Then they said vehicle rolled over on the tracks. So as soon as I got there, a couple of officers was there already. Obviously, he just committed a crime by stealing a patrol vehicle. We don't know what's his intentions, what he got. But I think when I got there, I saw Table. He had his gun out, just standing by, not sure what's going to happen. Other officers arrived. I got there. GSP got there. I believe, if it's not Smith that was trying to break the windshield, somebody was trying to break the windshield. I'm focused on the suspect like everyone else is. And all of a sudden you hear the ting, 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 the railroad. And I'm like, whoa, I'm not sure what direction it's coming from.
Right.
But the train is on one side of the tracks because it's, I don't know, like for 2 trains. So he's breaking the glass. I think Officer Cannon broke the window that was upward, which is the driver's side or the passenger? That was the passenger side facing up.
Okay.
We can't see anything in the vehicle because all the airbags deployed. So we basically taking caution, trying to get to the suspect, not knowing what's behind the airbags. And when he broke it, we still couldn't see the guy. So the airbag was there. So I said, watch out. Pull my utility tool out, cut the airbags, and he poked his head out, meaning trying to get out. And all I could hear is Cannon yelling, train, train, train. I'm like, I got it. I'm going to grab him. So I grabbed the first hand I saw. Then he started yelling expeditiously. I'm like, okay, it sounds like it's about to happen now. So somebody else grabbed his other arm. Normally we would secure the suspect and then take him. We didn't have time for that. We had to go into saving mode, get off the tracks for everyone's safety.
So we're hearing Officer Terry Peters' story, everybody, and I got to tell you, this is good stuff. Rarely do we ever get officers can tell us such an experience in their daily duties of their job. And of course, it's the 2023 September 11th First Responders Above the Call of Duty honorees. Now, we're going to take a break, but when we return, Officer Terry Peter continues his recollection of the story from January 2023 when an APD Zone 4 police car was stolen while the officer was conducting a traffic stop. All those details and a lot more about the 2023 September 11th First Responders Above the Call of Duty honorees when we return after this. And everybody, we are back. I'm Maria Boynton. You're listening to Atlanta Up Close on Odyssey Atlanta. When we left you, Officer Terry Peter with APD was talking about that night about 1 o'clock in the morning, January 2023, when an APD Zone 4 police car was stolen while the officer was conducting a traffic stop. Of course, we talked to Officer Darian Tabor, who told us some details, Officer Keyshawn Cannon, who told us some details. So, Officer Terry Peter, we're going to let you continue with your story because this stuff is exciting. So I know, what did you do? You were one who cut the airbag away, right?
Correct.
Now, keep telling us your story.
Yeah, so once he poked his head out and I was able to grab one hand while Cannon was yelling train, I believe he stepped in, or somebody did, grab the other hand and pulled him out. Didn't think about securing him, just thought about getting off that track because you could hear the train now blowing the horn. So that's what we did. And I think I took like 5 steps back and then the train hit the car. So it was like seconds between either we getting out of the way or we all getting hit, and we was able to all get out the way. So that's basically what happened. They took him into custody, got Grady on scene, treated him.
I get it. So you're here today. I mean, did you think you'd be here? I mean, that's just a crazy story for me.
Didn't think I would be here, but, I answer the call every time it comes. I just try to do my best, and hopefully it works out every day. I mean, I'm here, so I have more calls to answer. Yeah,
more calls to answer. They say it takes teamwork to make the dream work.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow, everybody. We're talking to APD officers who are being honored in the 2023 September 11th First Responders Above the Call of Duty program. Now, Officer Charles Smith is here with us, too. You were the one breaking that window, right, that the officer was just talking about?
Yes, ma'am, that was me. I was out with Officer Cannon on a violent domestic when a radio alerted to us of a stolen vehicle. I picked up the vehicle behind Officer Tabor on Lakewood Avenue right by South Bend Park. At that point, once we continued the pursuit, once the vehicle got to the train tracks after it wrecked out, Officer Peter and Officer Cannon went to work on one of the passenger driver's side window. At that point, I figured we probably needed to create a second point of access to get the driver out safely. So I began attempting, keyword there is attempting, to break the front windshield. It wasn't super successful.
Okay. Yeah, because it's a police officer cruiser.
I can tell you firsthand, it's not easy. But luckily, Officer Peter and Officer Cannon were able to safely extract him because at that point, preservation of life is the most important thing. They got him. We were able to get him in custody, get him medical treatment. But it's also important that we to make note that it wasn't just us four out there. We had officers from other zones, Georgia State Patrol, and I'm sure Fulton County Sheriff's Office was out there too. It was a team effort, and we were all able to get the job done.
Okay, let's go back. He heard the train coming. It was up on you. Officer Smith, what were you thinking?
Well, at that point, the most important thing was to get the driver out safely. I can probably speak for all of us that we don't want to stand by and watch a train strike a vehicle with a person inside, regardless of what he may or may not have done. The most important thing is to get him out. And so we just all went to work, for lack of better terms.
Officer Cannon, what were you thinking when you heard the dinging of the train coming?
I didn't really know what to think. It's like it's stuff you see in a movie.
Yeah.
It's like the timing of the whole thing. It's like, well, we have a car stolen. It never happens. And now the car wrecks on the train tracks. And now we have a train coming? It's like, what is our luck out here? But luckily, it turned out nobody was getting hurt. Like, suspect was fine. All officers was fine. Only thing that we didn't save was the patrol vehicle, but that's our least of our worries.
Yeah, you can get another one of those. So, Officer Peter, you give us this great long story, and we're all engulfed in it. I mean, you hear the dinging of the train, because you said it was ding, ding, ding. Remember those sound effects you gave us?
Correct.
What were you feeling and thinking?
Well, I mean, I try to stay calm every single time I'm out in the streets, because if I'm not calm, I mean, my decision making could be questioned. So I try to be calm. That day, I was just surprised. This is going on. I'm trying my best to help out everyone on scene to save this man and get him out of the car. The train is coming. I'm like, okay, how much worse is this going to get? And again, I didn't know the outcome, but I'm glad that it came out the way it did. We was able to pull him out before the train hit the car. The car's gone. It's all good. But as a whole, we did a good job. We saved someone's life. I mean, that's just how I was. I stayed calm.
So, Officer Tabor, we had you here talking about everything. You were first behind the car.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, you all lost a patrol car. Someone took your property. You had to go and apprehend this person, you and your teammates, along with Georgia State Patrol, other law enforcement officials. I mean, when you heard that train coming, what did you think?
So, obviously, it was already a crazy enough situation that the car was taken in the first place, and that it wrecked so badly and ended up on his side. And when somebody started yelling that the train is coming, sometimes when you're going through these situations, it's crazy what'll pop up in your head. When I heard that a train was coming towards the car, literally in my head, I'm like, this is like a movie. And so obviously I knew we got to switch from, okay, we're trying to get our car back, to now we have to get this gentleman out so nothing happens to him.
So he committed a crime against your department, but you all stayed together as a team, and you worked in the end to having to help this person get out of the path of an oncoming train.
Yes, because at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. Sometimes things start one way and they end another way. When it ends up, a car versus somebody's safety, we gotta put the life over the car. The car can be replaced. No matter what he did, his life still cannot. He also has a family. He has friends that care about him, and so we don't want to watch anything happen to him as well.
So, Officer Smith, at the end of the day, at the end of the night, when some of us would be saying, "Phew," breathing a sigh of relief. I mean, what did you guys do?
Well, after that, we cleaned up the scene and went back to answering calls.
Just like that?
Yes, ma'am.
All righty.
City never sleeps.
Dang, Officer Doherty, you got officers out there just rolling like this.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we try to get these incidents like this, package them, put them on social media so the community can see them. It's very important for them to know that our officers are not necessarily out here just only attempting to fight crime, but also attempting to help, attempting to save lives, attempting to talk to people and solve problems in more ways than just taking folks to jail. Although this male did actually go to jail. So,
everyone, it's the 2023 September 11th First Responders Above the Call of Duty honorees. Of course, we're giving a whole hour to this, everyone, because it deserves to happen. It deserves to be done. And, of course, we've got three departments: City of South Fulton, Fulton County Sheriff's Department, City of Atlanta being honored this year. Audrey Jackson is here. But I got to bring back in the negotiator, Nicholas Reynolds. I mean, you are out there having to talk someone down from the ledge, so to speak. I mean, how often does that happen in Atlanta?
To be honest, I have no clue. That was definitely the first time that I've been called out to it. And yeah, she was on the ledge, literally, on the edge of the building.
And just getting the job done, that's what it's all about.
That's all it's about.
And saving lives.
Yes, ma'am.
All righty. Audrey Jackson, you got a stellar group yet again, lady.
Well, one of the things I want to say is that people have been kind of in the streets talking about a training facility, and they put a name on it trying to make it a negative connotation. My name for that training facility is going to be called Safe City, because that's what it denotes to me, that everybody out there training, police, firefighters, EMTs, that will be training at this new facility will be making Atlanta safer. So I call it Safe City.
All righty, everyone. Audrey Jackson here. So give us again when the honors are happening.
Some of our honorees took place on this past week. We had Thursday, the City of South Fulton Officer Kevin Turner received his award. And then on Friday, our negotiator, our own Sam Jackson, Nicholas Reynolds, received his award on that Friday. And then on Monday, we will go to the City of Atlanta and we will get the exciting story from the 4 officers that saved everybody from the train. I can't believe we're talking about a train saving people from a train in 2023 in Atlanta, but that's what's going to happen on September 11th.
All righty, Audrey Jackson with the program here. You've been doing it now for how many years?
22 years. I started when I was a baby.
You're working with so many to get it done. Yes, you did start when you were a baby. What are your hopes for it? What's your goal?
My goal is to make this national. I want everybody in this country to look at first responders through the same eyes that I see them. So first stop, Georgia, was successful. Next stop, the entire 50 states of the United States. I'm working on that next.
And if people wanted more information about the program, what should they do?
They should go to www.j as in John, V as in Victoria, cares, CARES.org, jvcares.org.
So you get a lot of help in putting this together, and you've been doing it for more than 20 years. So there's a lot of collaboration, right?
There are. I'm supported by a lot of the City of Atlanta elected officials. I even had a former council person come in from District 5 to help out as well. So a lot of times when people leave office, they don't come back again, but she actually reached out to me and wanted to support. I've got the My Fellow Man nonprofit, so nonprofit helping another nonprofit. Yeah. So I have a lot of love from different places. I also have other officers that will be coming over on Monday to support these officers who are getting their awards in the City of Atlanta. So the brotherhood will continue on that day as well.
And we see the brotherhood always come out, whether in good times or in tragedy. The brotherhood is always there.
Yeah, brotherhood and a little sisterhood, too, because we got a few sisters out there.
Yes,
we had one at City of Atlanta in Zone 4 that broke a window, so I got love for them, too.
We had her on.
We sure did.
Yeah,
so
we did.
And she showed how to do it, so I've been trying that since, but it hasn't worked.
Okay, everybody. We've been paying homage to the 2023 September 11th first responders above the call of duty honorees. We had Officer Kevin Turner, Officer Nicholas Reynolds, Officer Darren Tabor, Officer Terry Peter, Officer Keyshawn Cannon, Officer Charles Smith. So to each and every one of you, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Maria.
They did that so great. Everybody, thank you for always listening to Atlanta Up Close. And, of course, you can always listen on the Odyssey app. Audrey, thank you, lady. I'm Maria Boynton.